right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Darling Discussions. Today I have with me Jennifer and Sarah from Isaiah 117 House. So, Sarah, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, my name's Sarah Miller. I am the expansion coordinator for Isaiah 117 House here in McLennan County, and am just a member of our community who saw a need and hope to fill that. So excited to tell you about that today.
Okay. Jennifer?
Yeah, I'm Jennifer Villapando, and I am just on the volunteer team that has helped bring this home to McLennan County, and I'll soon serve as program coordinator. I've just really been honored to be a part of the whole process and also excited to just tell you more about us.
Okay. All right. Well, then before we start talking about y'all's program exactly, can we talk a little bit about foster care and how does the situation look whenever, like what exactly happens between whenever a kid gets CPS called on or the family gets CPS called on them and the CPS worker says, okay, yeah, this is a situation that we need to remove kids from, and then we got to find a placement for them and all of that. How's that look?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure many of you have heard the stories of.
Oh, hold on. Just 1 second.
Yes.
I totally forgot. I was going to say trauma disclaimer. Hey, if any point during this video you feel uncomfortable when you're watching this, feel free to pause, take a break, take some deep breathing exercises, or just be like, you know what, I'm not going to watch this and keep on scrolling. Watch some other videos. That's fine. I'm not going to get my feelings hurt, and neither will these lovely ladies. So just take care of your own mental health and be aware of your triggers. And, so hopefully we don't trigger you on anything, but so let's go back to foster care.
For sure. Well, and it is hard. I'm glad you said that. It's a hard situation. It's a hard topic, whether you've been involved in any way or not. And that's because children are removed from their homes because of abuse, neglect, loss of their only guardian, any of the situations you could imagine, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why Child Protective Services pursues an investigation why children are removed from their homes when that home environment is deemed unsafe for them for whatever reason. And that day that they're removed from their home, we call removal day. And removal day is so traumatic. Those children are leaving the only home they've ever known. They're leaving mom and their pets and their blanket and the things that really bring them comfort. And they're being taken to our local Child Protective Service offices downtown. Child Protective Services is our state funded department that works really hard to find a safe place for these kiddos to go. But that day is traumatic. It's filled with trauma for them because they are being taken from their home by strangers, leaving a home that whether we would live in it or not, or whether we agreed with the decisions their family made, that was their home and that was their mom. And that is what they know is safe and comfortable. And they're being asked to leave. They're being picked up at the end of the day at school and told, hey, you're not going home today. So that in itself is very traumatic.
Well, you're saying that's what they see as safe and comfortable. I mean, these children are getting removed, though, for abuse or neglect or something that is unsafe. That's why they're getting removed, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that is the dichotomy, right? And that we hope to show those kiddos what love is, to show them that they're worthy, to provide them with those things that they don't even know. Some of them don't even know they exist. The clean clothes, the toothbrush, the things that we take for granted every day.
Wow.
And so they're leaving that situation that, yeah, absolutely is deemed unsafe for them. But that's all they knew. And so then Child Protective Services is working hard behind the scenes to find them a place to go. And that takes time. It's mounds of paperwork that have to be completed. It's phone calls that have to be made. And all the time that child is waiting in the local CPS offices downtown Waco. And so you can imagine being that child, walking through that traumatic situation, leaving the only home you've ever known and waiting in an office. much less inviting than this couch we're sitting on. There's copy machines running in the background. Like I said, people making phone calls. They're many times sitting in a cubicle or in a conference room, and they're just waiting with strangers, people they don't know, they don't recognize, most of the time with only the clothes on their back.
And this can happen at any time of the day, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially if it's a situation of imminent danger. Those removals are happening in the middle of the night. Kids are, leaving their bed with their pajamas still on. And so they're sleeping on cots on the floor in the conference room. CPS is really doing the best they can, but it's just not enough when they're having to juggle all the balls to balance all the demands of finding them a placement with also caring for the child.
I mean, this kind of draws to mind, actually, as you're describing it. I'm sitting there thinking about like some of these refugees with like from Ukraine and stuff, we've got these people who are having to leave at a moment's notice and go be somewhere completely different and maybe only have the clothes on their back.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's happening. I mean, that happens every day in our community. And in 2020, in our county specifically, we had over 500 removals. So that's on average more than one child a day that's going through this situation. And so many people just don't know. They don't know that there's a waiting period. And we think about either that really awful situation that child has just walked through, or we think about that foster family that we've put on a pedestal and we think it's amazing that they could do that. And but we don't think about the in-between, and the in-between is a really, really hard day.
Yeah, of course. That's gotta be, the most traumatic moment of that person's life. Yeah. I say that child's life, but it's going to stick with them the rest of their life, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So, what does Isaiah 117 do on that day?
So one of our primary goals is to reduce trauma for the child. Mm-hmm. So we want to meet them where they are. We want to meet their emotional needs, their physical needs, and just help love and care for them in that moment. You've heard just how terrible it is, how they're coming from everything that's familiar to them to this really sterile office environment and sitting and waiting and not knowing what the future looks like. So the Isaiah 117 house will provide a physical home that these kiddos can wait in. So we'll be just stocked like a normal home. We'll have the comfy couches like this right here. Mm-hmm. We'll have a kitchen full of food. We can prepare meals. We can order McDonald's. We can do whatever it is that the kiddo needs for comfort. As far as food, there'll be snacks galore that they can pick their favorite chocolate pudding or whatever it is that brings them comfort. We'll have nice soft blankets and a bed to sleep in if it is an overnight situation that they're coming into, a shower and a bath if needed. A lot of these kids are coming, like Sarah said, with just the clothing on their back. We'll have a fully stocked donation room where we can go and let the child pick out the clothes that they like, and hopefully they can identify a character that they recognize that can bring them comfort to, shoes that fit. All of those kind of things that we think of are just really basic needs being met. Mm-hmm. They need that in that moment. But We'll also provide a loving volunteer that will be there, and their sole purpose is to love and care for that child. Mm-hmm. So your CPS worker is doing all of their work, everything that's required by the state. They're processing this paperwork and making phone calls, but also having a child cry at their feet or holding them in their lap. And trying to comfort them, doing the best they can. We can offer a volunteer that they swoop in and take over that responsibility of loving and caring for the child. We're probably most excited about that, I would say. Yeah.
And I'm sure that's really hard for the kid to sit there and feel comforted by the CPS worker who just removed them from their home.
Could be.
I'm sure that they're like, I don't want you touching me. I don't want you to have anything to do with me. And I'm sure that makes filling out paperwork and everything so much harder. I really feel, after I heard y'all's presentation the first time, I was like, man, I really feel for those CPS workers. Mm-hmm. I mean, in our society, CPS workers get painted in such a horrible light, and it's just like, they're like the boogeyman, mm-hmm. and to think about them sitting there and having to go through this grueling job, but and also, everybody sees them like the boogeyman, and then having to handle these kids and fill out paperwork. I don't like filling out paperwork anyways.
Right.
And then adding on taking care of children while, and probably, convincing them to, stay here. It's going to be okay. And all of that, and filling out paperwork at the same time. So
And you
that's
see
really
it-
great that you
yeah.
have a place for them, for the CPS worker to have some relief as well as the children. And so how long can this placement take?
Yeah. So it can be anywhere from just a couple of hours. So CPS could possibly know a family member that would be able to care for the child. And the hope is to get them to that family member as quick as possible and make that transition short and hopefully as really smooth as possible for that kiddo. Or it could be, a sibling set of 4 kiddos of various ages that they don't have any family close by, or they don't have a family that's able to take care of them. And that could take a lot of phone calls and a long time for CPS to find a family in Texas that is able to foster 4 kiddos at a time. We've seen kids waiting anywhere from those couple of hours to days to sometimes weeks for a long-term placement. So it varies based on the needs of the kiddo and kind of the availability of foster families, and it's got to be the right fit, the right, it's got to hopefully be able to keep the siblings together. So that adds another level and another challenge to
Right.
find a home that can accommodate that many kids if it's more than a couple. So
The unfortunate reality is that there's not enough foster families in
Right.
our county, in the state of Texas, in the
And then
country. I mean,
yeah.
there's not enough licensed families, and that's because foster care is hard and it's scary, and we know that. We've walked that journey, and it's hard to say yes to. But that makes that waiting period even longer. I mean, it could be quick. It could be newborn right from the hospital to a family member, to a foster family's door within an hour, but it could mean that we are trying to keep these siblings together, and we're trying to keep them as close to their school to keep some sense of familiarity. And to do that, there needs to be a place for them to go, and there's just not enough.
And they could be infants, or, wow, I didn't even thought about all the care that needs to go into having an infant there for a couple of weeks or something.
Right.
Wow.
It also could be an older child that is just completely aware of everything that's going on. So they've lived this really traumatic event, and they're hearing these phone calls be made and reliving that over and over and over again. And that's just really hard. And it's really hard to think, someone on the other end is saying no to me coming to them for whatever that reason is. So the home could offer a space for them to go outside and play, or a teenager to relax on the couch while those phone calls can be made in more of a private area. And so they're not having to rehear all of that and relive all of that over and over and over again during that time right after it's happened.
And a space for those caseworkers to just take a deep breath. I mean, what you said is so true. And that's another part of our heart, is to love and encourage those caseworkers, because we need them. I mean, somewhere along the line, they did become the bad guys, but they're the ones who are working hard to find a safe place to go. And if we didn't have them, who knows what the situation would look like. And
Right.
so we want to encourage them. And
Instead of these kids just getting traumatized, they might have been
right.
worse.
Right. And so we want to come alongside them and to say, you are loved and supported, and we need you to do the job you're doing because it's necessary. And, so many times investigative workers are doing processing removals, and someone knows, oh, this child's been waiting for 5 hours, they need to eat. But no one's thinking about the caseworker. No one's thinking that caseworker has worked all day processing this removal, trying to find a placement. They haven't eaten. They really need to go take a nap. They've just processed this trauma while they're processing the paperwork. I mean, how do you do that? They're walking into spaces that for most of us would be hard to even think about. And they're living it just like those kids are when they go in and have to remove a child. So that is for sure a huge part of our mission as well.
Yeah, I know when I was doing a lot of social work, going into people's houses and working with them, it's always like, oh, what am I going to face when I go into this household? You know, you never know. You never know, is there going to be a big scary dog? Is there going to be a weird smell? Is there going to be something that you just can't unsee? You know?
Yeah.
I have to tell you sometime about the story about the dog that chased me off the porch.
Oh,
Never seen me run so fast in my life. Let's just say that. But so yeah, these CPS workers, they're sitting there and going through that, you know, except I'm just kind of wondering, is it going to be bad? And they know that it's bad when on removal day. And I mean, my heart breaks for them and these kids, that it is a step forward, but it's still such a painful step. So I'm really glad Isaiah 117 is stepping in and saying, hey, you know, this is something to ease this transition. So just to make sure I'm covering everything, I guess we're to the point where we talk about how can people help out with this?
so there are so many ways.
Okay.
That's one thing I think we love is we've already said this, foster care is hard. It's scary. It's hard to say yes to, but I think there's this misconception that to serve foster children, you have to become a licensed foster family. You have to let kiddos sleep in your home for 18 months at a time. And that is not the case. And I think this ministry is such a clear picture of that because there's a place for everyone. One of the things coming up really soon that we're really excited about is we have a fundraiser and a giving day on Tuesday, April 26th. So if you're interested in giving to help us build a home here in McLennan County, we would love that. You can give at isaiah117house.com/McLennan luncheon. And maybe we can link that for you there, but we would love for anyone to participate in that day as well. But there's for sure some other exciting things coming up too.
You know, we're talking about it being a ministry and the giving day. Maybe we should roll back a little bit and say, this isn't a regular type of business. This is a ministry. This is a nonprofit. This is so tell us a little bit. I love the story about how this all started, where it all started. Give us that story. Can you do that, Jennifer?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we are part of a larger nonprofit. We're here local. We're in McLennan County. We're in Waco. But this started in East Tennessee. It was born out of a family's personal experience in the foster care system. And there's steps of obedience and first becoming a foster family. And then just knowing that like God wasn't done in their lives and that they had just a really great purpose in helping his precious kiddos know that they're not alone on their worst day. And so in going on a tour of a local CPS office, they call it something different in Tennessee, but we call it CPS here. They realize kids are sleeping in these conference rooms and waiting for a place to stay. And that just wasn't okay. And so the family, Rhonda and Corey Paulson, along with their kiddos, started it in their own county, Carter County, Tennessee. It's completely community supported, and that's the way it began. They basically just rallied their community and said, this is happening. This is what we're going to do about it. What can you do to help? And so they had, someone donate land. Or a home at that point, and they renovated the home. And they've done this over and over and over in other communities across Tennessee, in Florida and Georgia and Virginia and Indiana and Texas. And they're just people like us that are reaching out, like Sarah actually, reaching out and saying, we have this need in our community too. What can we do for these kids and families that are really hurting here? So,
and why'd you say like Sarah too?
Well, the ministry does not seek to expand. They aren't looking at a map and saying, okay, where should we go next? Because honestly, every county across the nation needs an Isaiah 117 house because unfortunately you have kids entering care across the country. But Sarah reached out and said, hey, I've identified this need just through some different ways. My background being a foster parent and just also kind of keeping a pulse and knowing that I'm not done in this world. And she reached out, submitted a video, and asked, hey, what do we do to make this happen? And they approved McLennan County as an expansion. And you can add a little bit more about how you.
So, Sarah, you're the one who brought it here.
Yeah.
I'm the culprit.
Well, kudos. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think we say this a lot, and by we, I mean anyone in the foster care community, that once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Right.
So as Jennifer said, I mean, it came to a point where my husband and I, we knew we weren't done yet. So it was, okay, how are we going to serve now, and really praying about what that looks like, and simultaneously stumbled upon this ministry, Isaiah 117 House, and thought, surely there's a need for that. Then Jennifer comes in because we were acquaintances at the time, and she has some connections with Child Protective Services, knowing of the needs. And so it was really the first point of clarity for me that, yes, we absolutely need this, because kids were sleeping on the floor, and she was the one trying to rally people to help with that. And so that was really the moment where we kind of joined forces, and I said, hey, what if we start this thing? What if we do this? And she first said no, but here she is. But I think, what we've seen all along is that it really is all so God orchestrated. I mean, he has lined things, and they've fallen into place years before we even knew. And that's such a cool thing to be a part of, just to see him work. He's going before us. This is not what we're doing. We're just the hands and feet, right? And that's really the message of the ministry. And that, as Jennifer mentioned, they're not looking to expand. They never were looking to expand,
right.
But people across the country have just started to hear about this ministry, realized, hey, this is a need happening in my own community. How can I make this happen? And each county is, like she said, it's all local community supported. Mm-hmm. So we are, in a sense, operating this model here because we've seen it work. We've walked through those open homes, but it's all reliant on our local community here to make it happen here for our kiddos.
And you said before, like, there aren't a lot of counties in Texas that are doing this.
Right.
So this is hey, Wacoans, you should be proud that this is something happening here. So what other counties in Texas I keep hitting this mic, are doing it right now?
Yes. So McLennan and Dallas County, we both kicked off in September of 2021 officially. And then Brazoria County and Montgomery and Walker County will kick off end of April, early May. But we really are just expecting this to grow in Texas. I mean, it's so exciting for us, but
right.
also equally heartbreaking because
right.
there is such a need in our state. In 2021, there were over 16,000 removals of children in the state of Texas.
16,000.
Yes. And so the need is huge.
Yeah.
Rhonda Paulson, our founder and executive director, has said, and I chuckle every time she says it, but it is so heartbreaking, is that Texas does everything big, even the child welfare crisis. And so it is such a need here. So we know it's going to continue to grow just like it did in Tennessee and is starting to across the country for sure.
Right. Wow. Well, that's an incredible origin story. Man, I've watched too many Marvel things. Origin story, but yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So let's go back to people like helping out. There's the Giving Day, and what else? Y'all have volunteers, and since it's a nonprofit, I guess y'all do a lot of volunteers.
Yeah. So the Giving Day is actually what is going to get us to the point where we can build this physical home.
Okay.
Our hope is after we have that big fundraiser, we'll be able to acquire land and break ground and just build that house as fast as we can,
Mm-hmm.
however that looks. Once the home is open, we will have caregiver volunteers that will go through an extensive background check and trainings to actually be hands-on caring for kids in the home. But we'll also always have support volunteers that maybe that's not a good fit to actually be on an on-call schedule to come and help with the kids, but we'll need lawn care. We'll need someone that, helps prepare freezer meals. We'll need someone that helps do inventory of our donations, just really anything you can think of to run a home. So we have a plumbing issue. We're going to need someone to come and look at that and help us with that. So really, there are just so many ways that people can basically use their talents and gifts to get plugged in support of this mission. We will do some regular community events. We will have lemonade stands every summer. So organization-wide, we have a challenge. We like to compete with all of the other expansions across Texas, but also across Tennessee and all of the other locations. And we'll just do some fun things like most creative lemonade stand. And the purpose of that is just to raise awareness about the need in our ministry and get our kids involved, because there's not always, an easy way for kids to be involved with something like this, but we can teach them about foster care. We can teach them about serving others, helping those in need in our community. And also give them the confidence to boldly share about their faith and about this ministry in over a glass of lemonade that they're selling to someone. That will be July 15th through 17th. So we'll have a whole weekend of lemonade stands across the county. So be on the lookout for that. If you want to host a stand or get more information about that information will be on our social media pages. Also, we'll have a golf tournament in the fall, and we'll do that annually. Any golfers out there would be so happy to have you. And
I can't play well.
I
but
cannot
I enjoy
either.
it.
I cannot either. But I can drive.
I'm
the
excited
golf
about that
cart.
lemonade stand.
Yes,
My daughter has
yes.
been bugging me. Can I do a lemonade stand?
Yes, you can.
Now I'm gonna have to. Thanks, guys.
I've got your number.
Yep.
So fun things like that to bring awareness to the need. Just celebrate the goodness that can come from just a really dark situation too.
Right.
And we like to go to community events. So if there are things happening, the farmers market, we're going to a car show in a couple of weeks. We love to set up at those and meet members of our community, and also just interact and share the story. We've made some just really amazing connections and built relationships based on those just quick 2-minute conversations.
Right.
I've gotten to know so many people in this last year that I would never know otherwise if I wasn't wearing this t-shirt standing at a table.
I have to say, Waco
Yeah.
is so great about that. It's such a friendly town.
Yeah.
I love Waco.
It's it's been so
love
fun.
Waco.
Yes.
Man,
Y'all are
we
so
were
friendly.
serving the other day. We serve monthly at our CPS office. I can tell you more about that too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we go in. We try to do it around the 17th of each month, and we just use it as a time of encouragement for those workers. There are about 150 CPS staff members in McLennan
Wow.
County. That is a lot.
150.
Yes.
Wow.
And they're doing various things. Some of those people are the ones that are actually doing the investigations and going into homes. Some are
Just taking phone calls.
taking phone calls. Some are really finding support for families. They spend their days looking at resources, communicating with the families that are in crisis. And, that's a really key role with CPS. And a lot of them are going so above and beyond what's required of them that it's really, really awesome to see. And then you have an adoptions unit, and you have, leadership. So you have just a big range of people. But what we like to do is go in and spend time praying with them and thanking them for their hard work and encouraging them to keep it up. We are bringing in groups to do that with us. So if there are groups in the community that would be interested in participating in that, it's a really, really, really sweet time. It's weird to say that it's become one of my favorite times.
That's not
Each
weird.
month is to spend a couple of hours in the CPS office. I don't,
I mean, okay,
that's
when you
weird.
say it like that, it does sound a little
Yeah.
weird, but that's okay. But that's so great.
Yeah. I
That's
look
so
around the
good.
room, and there are people that they haven't had that acknowledgement that what they do is really, really hard work. And so it's been really sweet to be able to say that to them.
Yeah.
Pray with them
Talk
and
about unsung heroes.
yes, and just
Absolutely.
ask God to give them guidance in all of the very, very important decisions that they're making for families and sustain them through those really hard times. But I looked around the room the other day and I didn't know a single person a year ago. So all of these people in this
Wow.
room have came into my life through serving with this ministry. And that was just really sweet. I think there was one person from my church that I had met otherwise, but everyone else, they're completely new. And it's just a joy to serve with people that are from all different backgrounds, all different churches in our community, and different businesses stepping up and rallying together. It's fun.
Well, I am so glad that I've got to meet y'all. And now
Yes,
that
us too.
y'all have got to meet these lovely ladies and the program and the ministry that they are supporting. And we will put a link in the description for everything to do with them and to follow me. And so y'all can find out more information. Thank you again, ladies.
Thank you
Thank you so much.
That's a wrap, Mike. All right.